Hi, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to wherever you are in the world. I am Anshuman Acharya. I'm a senior product manager at Microsoft. I represent the Modern Workplace Transformation Organization, and I am responsible for building the product, which is Microsoft Lists inside of Microsoft Teams. So let's get started with lists. So what are lists about? So lists are all about tracking what matters most. Introducing Microsoft Lists, which is a Microsoft 365 app that helps you track information and organize your work. Lists are meant to be simple, smart, and flexible so you can stay on top of what matters most to your team. Built off of 20 plus years of innovations in our SharePoint world, it is available in most Office and M365 subscriptions, almost every plan where SharePoint is available. And the product will start rolling out this summer. It's also going to be part of the M365 portfolio to help customers collaborate, stay connected, and get things done. Throughout this presentation, we're going to cover some of the ways we've designed lists to be simple, smart, and flexible, and so that they're easy to create, easy to share, accessible across several different devices. You can start the web app using the Microsoft 365 app launcher, or you can just go inside Teams and start creating a list. We've made it really easy to develop rules based on the type of information you're tracking. So when something changes in a list, it can trigger an email or a notification in Teams. You can also enhance your list experience by running it inside Microsoft Teams, which is what this session is about. Simply add the Lists app as a new tab in Teams and import an existing list or build a new one. Lists are flexible, from configuring and color coding to conditional formatting and integration with the Power Platform. You can choose simple or dynamic rules and views to help you get the most out of your list. Now let's take a look at how lists as a product fits into the broader M365 canvas. So M365 or Microsoft 365, as you know, is all about collaborative work management. In the context of collaborative work management, M365 offers an integrated toolset that covers you all the way from the back end with storage built on SharePoint, all the way to the front end, which may be an Office application. From tracking team and individual tasks, we have Planner and To Do, which are merged together in teams as tasks. You can add few details about the tasks, set a date for completion, and the same task that you started in Outlook or in To Do is available to you in Teams. Using Microsoft Lists, you can track a lot of different types of information, not just tasks. You define what information you need to track and how you want to do it, using scenarios as diverse and unique as the information you're tracking. What sets lists apart are its ability to handle multiple sets of information broken into thousands of pieces across however many people you work with, and your ability to add your own business logic to notify users when information changes, create meaningful visuals and views of the data, and share it with others as you see fit. Lists provide a lot of user-friendly tools that you can use to make it work just for you. In addition to tasks, email, and information, you handle many different types of content or documents stored in OneDrive and SharePoint. That might include Office documents, PDF, MP3s, DICOM images if you work in healthcare, and many more, supporting 320 plus file types. It can be tricky to know how to best work with others on those different content types, which is what makes this whole suite so valuable. And that brings us to Microsoft Teams, which is at the center of all of this. It is the hub of teamwork in Office 365. Today, the modern worker cannot work alone. They have to work in a team, and this is why Microsoft Teams is so important. It's at the heart of the suite and your hub for teamwork. Teams enables you to have a conversation across all of these different content types with all of the different people that are involved in authoring that content. It helps keep everyone in sync from one central location. Using Teams, you can organize the content by the channel with multiple tabs, highlighting multiple pieces of content that are important to the team, or simply post content directly into the chat and keep the conversation moving forward. Now, let's take a closer look at what lists are like inside Teams and where the vision came from. So lists in Teams. As you can see, Teams loves lists. I'm going to start with a story though, one grounded in customer obsession. Over a year ago, our engineering team in Microsoft Teams for Healthcare was working closely with a large health provider customer in Texas. As part of this engagement, we were shadowing nurses and physicians as they went about their shift. As we were studying their movements, processes, and looking at what workloads could be moved onto the collaboration canvas of Microsoft Teams, one particular process struck us as a great candidate. This was their daily multidisciplinary team huddle that happened at the start and end of every shift. The charge nurse in this case was managing a list of patients with the objective of planning their care and a goal of working towards their timely discharge. It was almost like an engineering scrum where an item, in this case a patient, was discussed and folks from multiple disciplines, clinicians, dietitians, PT, OT, physiotherapy, social workers, case workers, all of these people gave their status updates and walked away with action items. Almost all of it was done on whiteboards and paper, thus making it really hard to track. Specific workflows like logging avoidable delays, flagging discharge barriers was very important, but all of these were again done on paper or through verbal communication. This led to failures in communication and breakdown in the business process sometimes, which resulted eventually in either poor care for the patient or delays in discharges, which meant losses for the hospital. Sometimes seeking approval from higher up for initiating a special discharge process was also needed. There were also standard checklists of tasks for every patient or list item that needed to be performed as they moved from one stage to another in the business workflow, leading to a safe discharge. Sometimes specialists also had to be dialed in on a phone to give an opinion. So as we observed this business process, what struck us was there was a need here for us to give our end users a simple, smart, and flexible way of representing a patient list. There was a need to give our end users simple ways of creating workflows around these patients. There was a need to provide async collaboration and communication capabilities around this list of patients. As the SharePoint team and the product was making rapid improvements to making lists a product that was loved by end users, we thought it would be best if we combine teams and lists. And we would do this by natively integrating lists into the communication and collaboration canvas of teams, thereby empowering our users to create lightweight collaborative workflows around business entities. Now let's take a look at what are these business entities and how they reflect and show up in the several industries that we work with. So looking here, as we continue to engage with our customers across many different industries, healthcare, manufacturing, financial services, government, retail, we discovered a common theme. We saw several different use cases that folks were already using lists for, or where there was an opportunity to land turbocharged lists powered by the collaboration and communication powers of Microsoft Teams. Here are some examples. So in healthcare, we already talked about the multidisciplinary team meetings and discharge planning huddles. But there are also use cases like patient outreach, where hospitals are managing a set of patients that are not in their EHR yet, but they want to reach out to these patients, have a meeting or a call, and then update their information and then bring them back into the EHR or the electronic health record. In manufacturing, we have skill matrices for workers, processes like machine maintenance, inventory tracking, vendor management, all of which are great candidates for lists. In financial services, we worked with banks and mortgage lenders that wanted an informal way to collaborate around loan applications and move them faster. For a bank, the cost of taking a loan for them is one of the main objectives that they want to reduce. And the improved collaboration that we can bring together with Microsoft Teams and lists in tracking these loan applications, which were prior to that being tracked in an ad hoc way, is a huge saving for these customers. In the government space, we work with several agencies that were using lists or want to use lists to track incidents and events. We worked with emergency agencies and disaster response agencies that track natural disasters and the steps that are needed to be performed to circumvent a disaster and to respond to a disaster using lists. Across all of these use cases, we saw this common theme. The theme was we needed to empower our end users to create lightweight business workflows. We needed to empower our end users to quickly get started and create a list to enable an unmet need around a business process and start tracking unstructured information in a structured way inside a list. Now, let's take a look at some of these entities and scenarios and how they're defined in lists. In lists, we have the concept of list templates. List templates make it easy for our end users to quickly get started with creating a particular type of list and give them an easy way to bootstrap their list. So you might ask me, what goes into a list template, Anshuman? So a list template, it's the set of columns that make up a list. Their data types, any column, view, or row formatting rules that give the list more color or meaning for the underlying business process that it serves. And of course, in the future, we also want to bring in all of the Power Automate flows and pre-package them into a template as well. Today, we have 11 out-of-the-box Microsoft-defined list templates that are available today in the Lists app in Microsoft Teams. And these include the top 3 that you're seeing here: patients, loans, and incidents. In the future, though, we want to create a full-fledged template store where admins and end users can create and upload list templates that are relevant to their organization's needs. Target these templates at certain sections of end users, and also enable an ecosystem of partners and third-party developers, curate and enable that community to be able to create and publish list templates, which then everyone can leverage and reuse in making wonderful lists, which are smart, flexible, and awesome. Now, let's talk about lists in Teams. So what you're looking at here is the Lists app in Teams that we've built. As you can see, it works on all Teams clients, the desktop client, the web client, the Teams Android and iOS clients, if you're a fan of those. Today, it's a team scope tab app, meaning you can only have it in a channel in a team. The personal app, which will represent personal lists, is coming later on in our journey. But the team scope tab app gives you a great way to bring in a list, a team-based list that exists inside a team SharePoint site or any other SharePoint site into a tab. It also enables you to create a new list from scratch from an Excel or using a template. Access the same ready-made templates plus 3 industry-specific ones right inside Teams. Use the same creation process, share the list with everyone in your channel by default. In Teams, though, the real benefit again is the value of communicating about a list item side by side. Open a list item and pop out a chat connected to a list item to talk about this with your team. Mention individuals to ask a question. Provide feedback to the list that shows up in the conversation feed with a direct link to that list item. Lists in Teams are simple and flexible. They enable everyone in a team that work on one common area and topic to stay in sync and collaborate around this unstructured and structured information inside a list. The lists in Teams are flexible with rules, Power Automate flows, and in the future, we will add message action and list creation from anywhere features. So you can imagine scenarios where a user can go into a message and create a list item from there if they're already set up their list. Now, without further ado, I want to show you a quick demo and walk you through all of the features in Microsoft Lists. Imagine a fast-growing SMB organization that is managing their pipeline of candidates for recruitment on a list in the Teams List app. The HR lead for the department sets up the List app easily using a recruitment list template called Applicant Tracker. She then customizes the columns to add pills, formatting rules, and some Power Automate flows. For example, she sets up a flow to notify everyone on the team anytime the candidate status changes to hired and kicks off an onboarding process via the flow. So let's take a look at how all of this can happen here on a list. So I have a list here, as you can see, it's a list of candidates. It's a list app inside Teams. I'm here in my demo environment. So you can see this is the recruiting team, and I'm in the hiring 101 channel, and I have a tab called candidates. This is actually a list app tab. So this tab that you see here is a list, and this list is actually a list in SharePoint too. So if you click on the 3 dots and you say open in SharePoint, you can see that it will take you to the same list in SharePoint. Now you might ask me, where is this list stored? This list is actually stored in the backing team SharePoint site that represents this team. So if you open this team and went to its backing team SharePoint site and went to site contents, you could find this list. Now, as you can see, this list looks and feels a lot like the SharePoint list inside SharePoint Web. As you can see, we have all of the standard features, like I can sort the list, I can edit the columns, I can add formatting rules. So as you can see here, I've sorted the list by stage. So let me go ahead and say ascending, and it's going to sort the list by ascending. Here is a career link to an external site. So it's a hyperlink column. And I've used column formatting here to set up this column to look like an email. As you can see, this is actually a single line of text field. And as you see, we also have features like filtering. So if I wanted to filter this list and I want to filter to only see my hired candidates, I can see that the list got filtered and I'm seeing these hired candidates. Now, maybe I want to save this as a view. So I can save this view as hire candidates. And I can either make this a public view or make it a private view, meaning I want to create a view just for myself because that is the subset of the list that I care about. In this case, I'm gonna make it a public view and click save. So as you can see now, it shows up. It's a public view. So we have all items and we have hired candidates. Now let me show you what a new item flow looks like. So when I click on new item, as you can see, the full form comes into picture. And as you can see in this form, I have two sections, header and details. And this has been created by a feature that you will hear about in a different Ignite session related to customizing the list and the list items using JSON. But the JSON structure in the body customization has actually enabled us to create these sections. And I can go ahead here and add a new candidate by filling in all of these things. Now I'm going to cancel out and I'm going to click on one of these list items, one of these candidates. And as you can see, again, this is a form where I have the candidate. This is a rich view and this is fully editable. So I can change my candidate's name. I can change the stage that they're at and it saves right away. And I can change date fields in here. All of these fields are in a constant edit mode. I can have attachments that I can change and add. I can add multiple attachments as well. So it's really flexible, as you can see. And also, I have the capability to adjust this form and like the different fields that go into the different sections. So let's say that I want the profile pic to be part of the header. And I'm gonna change that and click save. So as you can see, the profile picture has now gone into the header. That makes it easy for me to see the profile picture. Well, maybe I want it to be all the way at the top. So I click that and then it comes all the way over here. As you can see, I can also copy a link to this list item. This is the exact same flow that you see in SharePoint. So you can copy a link and this generates a unique share link that you can share with anyone that's outside this team. They may not have access to this team and this list, but if you give them a link to this list item, they can directly access this list item. And depending on the permissions you've set on that link, they can either edit or only do a read-only access to the list item. Now let's come to the most important feature, conversations. As you can see, I click the conversation button over here and it opens up a right pane. So I can go ahead and say, Nestor, can we make sure we check the tech tools? And this enables me to have an inline conversation about a list item in a team. So now if I go back to post in the channel, you will see that whatever I posted for that list item shows up here. And then when others reply back to this list item and say, hello, yes, we can. And you go back to the list tab and you click on Kira again, you see that it's the same conversation. So all of this conversation can happen in the context of a list item, making it really easy and powerful for our end users to collaborate and communicate about list items. One of the other things that I want to show you too is that, this works really, really well in the dark theme in Teams. So once we have the dark theme, you can see if you love using that, then the list app works great as well. We also have the quick edit mode inside the list app in Teams. So if you wanted to edit these items, then you can edit them directly inside Teams. Now let me change back the theme. So here we go. Now we're back in the regular theme. You can see that you can edit all of these things directly. You don't even need to go inside the list item. You can change this to 2021, or you can change from loop setup to applied. And all these changes are happening directly from the main view, which is called the grid view. So now I can exit this grid view and it will save all of the changes that I've done. So for the next leg of the demo, I'm actually going to show you how easy it is to create such a list. So an end user simply needs to come to the channel and click on the plus button. Because the Lists app is a pre-installed first-party Microsoft-owned app, it will show up directly in the tab gallery. So you can just click on it, and then you can click Save to finish adding the tab to your channel. Now, once it's set up, you will see that it's in the state, which we call the bootstrap state. So here you have options. You can either create a list or add an existing list. So if you want to add an existing list, it will show you all of the lists that are present inside your team SharePoint site. In this case, I have only one list, so that's the one that's shown up. If I click on this, it will pin this list that's already existing to the tab. Or if you also have a link to a list that's outside this team, but something that you have access to and the majority of the people in the team have access to, you can just paste the link to that list and click here and it will tab or pin that list to this tab. Bear in mind though that pinning the list here does not implicitly grant permissions to everyone in the team that can see and access this list through the tab. What I mean by that is if you have a list in a different team where a subset of this team is present, then you have to explicitly ensure that they have access to that list when you pin it as a tab. Now let's go into the new process, create new process. So I click here and you can see that I have many options. I can create a blank list from scratch. I can create a list from uploading from an Excel or an existing list, or I can pick and choose from one of these templates. As an example, let me click on the patients template. You can see here that I have all of the patient data like showing up. This gives me a preview of like what the sample data looks like. So I can use this template and say patients v2 and say list demo and pick a color and icon that helps customize the list. And I can click create. And that will create a list with the name of patients v2, which is the name of the tab. And then as you can see, all of the columns are already set up. And then I can start going ahead and filling up the data and then make the list look like this. So as you've seen in the demo, we've done a lot of good work to make lists work great inside Teams. But it's really important too that we make sure that for our customers in regulated industries like healthcare, we ensure that access to lists and list items is audited. And for that reason, we've gone and made sure that when our compliance admins log into the Security and Compliance Center and go to the Audit Log Search portal and look for events for list items, they can see all of the CRUD events, the create, read, update, and delete events for list and list items show up here. And also there will be an identifying attribute to indicate that it came from a Teams client. So this is the Audit Log Search feature that you're seeing on screen. And as you can see here, I have a created list event, and you can see that the log gives information about who created the list, when, and in which team, and so forth. So it's really easy for admins to track down any misuse of lists for any malicious purposes as well. Now let's take a look at all of the features that we have for lists available at GA and what's coming next. So as I've shown you in the demo, users can add the list tab to any channel from the tab gallery. Users can create a new list based on templates. We have 11 templates. They can create a list from scratch, from an Excel spreadsheet, or from an existing list. Users can add an existing list if they have one as just a tab in Teams. All of the column types that are supported in SharePoint are supported. Users can do quick edit or edit in grid view and perform bulk edit operations on lists. Users can export list content onto an Excel spreadsheet for further analysis. Existing lists that are already part and pinned into the SharePoint app that already exists in Teams will be upgraded to the new experience automatically. So as you may know, there is already a SharePoint app that exists today inside Teams in the Teams App Store that lets you pin a list or a page. If you have users that have already pinned a list to it, all of those lists will automatically be upgraded into the new experience that we just showed you. Users can sort lists, filter lists, and manage all of these views that make it easy to work with lists and large lists. Users can start a conversation about a list item side by side in context. All of the list information and activities are auditable and also available for e-discovery in the Security and Compliance Center. Now, what are we working on for the next few months and quarters? Users can share list items and access shared list items through these share links directly inside Teams. That's a feature we are working on. We realize that sharing of list items is super critical, so we want to enable that. Users can also create rules on lists and be notified based on triggers inside Teams. Users can also create meeting spaces for list items. Now, what do I mean by that? So as you know, meetings are a great way to collaborate in a synchronous manner on any kind of information and content. So we want to enable users to be able to quickly start a meeting about a list item and then have the list item show up inside that meeting. But stay tuned for more updates on that one. That one is coming soon. And as you can see here on the right, as I'm showing you on the mobile app, this is the same feature that we have, which is the sub-entity conversation feature, or the conversations that you can have around the list item. So as you can see in this case, a user clicks on the chat button inside the details page on mobile, and then it lands them in the channel conversation, and they can have a conversation with their teammates about candidate Blake Daly. and see if they want to hire him or not. So that brings me officially to the close of all of the information that I had in my session. But we have a lot of great additional Microsoft List skilling sessions available for you to consume. So these are the links. I strongly recommend you to check these out. We also have some awesome resources online for you to check out. So we have the List app in Teams admin documentation. So that's the first link. If you're an admin in a tenant, enabling the List app inside Microsoft Teams and understand how to roll it out, check out that link. And there's the second link, which is for end users, which is all about help and support and how end users can use List app in Teams and get the most out of it. And then we have some great resources for List all up. So remember to check out the resource center at aka.ms/lists. And then do check out the Ignite blog for all the latest and greatest announcements about lists, and of course the M365 public roadmap. And do subscribe to the IntroZone, where we have a great set of podcasts about lists and list in Teams as well. And with that, I want to close my presentation by thanking you so much for listening to me and taking the time to enable yourself to be more educated and skilled on Microsoft Lists inside Microsoft Teams. We've done our very best to make lists work really, really great inside Teams. We realize that you and your end users spend a lot of time in Microsoft Teams, and therefore we want to make lists great inside Teams. Thank you again. And so make a list and let it flow.